Coming up on this episode of Flirtations, we're joined by Jonah Wheeler to explore the art of developing chemistry in the bedroom and how to create deeper, more connected experiences with your partner or partners. We'll answer questions about verbal play, dom-sub dynamics as a kink, butt play, and how to embrace the journey of physical intimacy by detaching from outcome-based sex, because it's not always about the rush to O. We also break down communication tips for exploring pleasure and ensuring your desires and boundaries are clear and respected. And along the way, Jonah will share some of his experiences on set recording sexy videos, what makes a good scene, and even what happens when things don't go according to plan. So, whether you're curious about exploring new dynamics, looking for ways to deepen intimacy, or just intrigued by Jonah's advice, I hope you'll join us for this episode. Let's go, flirties.
I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt. Hello, my name is Benjamin. I'm the flirt coach and a gay Libra. Everyone has an inner flirt.
Hey, flirty.
Live, laugh, flirt.
Work the flirt.
Work the flirt. Delulu is the Salulu. Expert on the flirt.
Hey, flirty. There's always another flirt.
Everyone has an inner flirt. Get out of your head and into the flirt.
Flirties, we're going to be having a romp on the show today talking about SE double hockey sticks. That's sex with Jonah Wheeler. Hi, Jonah.
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm really good. I'm happy to be here. It's snowing here today, which is really cute.
Yeah.
I've spent the morning taking thirsty cosplay pics of the doctor from Stardew Valley. So, it's a cute morning.
All in a day, and now recording an episode of Flirtation.
Yeah, I'm delighted to be here. I am fairly flirtatious, so.
Yeah, we have known each other on the socials for a little while. You tagged me in a video not too long ago about cruising, so I'm excited to get into that a little bit more today, some flirting tips and lots of questions just about sex and the exploration of physical pleasure and consent, boundaries, intimacy, role play, all kinds of good things coming. But I think I want to ask this question here first. So are we having a mustache off today, Jonah?
Ooh, I mean, I really can't fight you on that. You're winning.
No, I don't think so. I think they are of equal appropriate size. I think they're really matching.
That's fair. I think yours is bushier and broader, which I do rather like.
Yes, maybe.
I'll put it this way. I do have mustache envy of you without necessarily feeling bad about mine in the process. I do
Correct.
like yours a lot.
Thank you. I like your mustache as well. It's I've always said I think I just might have a lot of space between my nose and upper lip, and you know what? I'm gonna fill it with something.
Yeah. Yours also comes in very thick, and it has a fairly uniform top line.
It does.
Whereas mine angles downward as it gets wider and gets narrower. Yours stays really thick across the whole length.
I didn't ever know. Do you think that is in the way we shape and trim, or just?
I don't think so. The hair of my mustache doesn't grow that high on the ends.
I see.
Mine tapers down closer to the lip.
Oh yeah, mine goes. I mean, I grow hair all everywhere but my eyelids, basically. So,
and that
I do what I can
for me.
Are you flirting with me, John?
Yes, that's allowed, right?
Yes, 100%. Okay, so I've gotten to know you some, but for the flirties, getting to know you, meeting you today, hearing you for the first time, what do you do in the world?
Oh, hey, I am an adult performer.
Yes.
I make pornography. I do a lot of social media stuff, particularly around queerness, the amusingness of sexuality, the hair splitting of the divide between different interests and identities of queerness and sex, and the silliness within that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big goofball. I'm a big horn dog.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very much about participating in sex in an enthusiastic and self-expressive way. I throw myself at the internet all day doing that because, I don't know, I like making things.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're so glad you do. I mean, I've said, no vanilla shame here, but if you look in my freezer, right? It's vanilla ice cream. In the refrigerator, vanilla yogurt, right? Cake on the counter, it's just vanilla. I'm like, it's kissing sex. So I'm very excited you're here to have this conversation just as we explore, I think, physical pleasure and sex in all of its forms. Because I got to be honest, when it comes to that, I'm a little shy.
Mm.
Yeah.
Where you're really knowledgeable is like navigating the approach and the courtship and the intentions behind people's actions.
Mm-hmm.
You have a great awareness of that in a way that I'm more like, what does this character role play mean to you personally?
Yeah, I mean, the flirt is many things. Of course, a form of connection, I think a form of communication, a form of acknowledging one another. It's an expression of interest, an act of service, a gift, so many things. But it can also really serve the purpose of foreplay, right? Letting the flirt be foreplay and really setting you up for that first kiss, or you're starting to date someone, you're into the dating process, you're in a relationship, flirty's here. In many different types of connections, yeah, let the flirt serve you there.
The charge of that, like, flirt and courtship and the gradual step.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the T of the flirt stands for tension. It can also be expanded to include excitement, anticipation, momentum. That's one of the things that separates it from small talk, right? You know, like, how was your day? What's the weather like? You know, whatever, your water cooler conversation. The flirt has this element. There's this kind of palpable energy to it, right? It's like, I don't know where this is going, but I'm excited to see where it does go.
I'm often, partly because of my work and partly I do my work because of this quality of me, I'm very much a jump to the sex person. I move to sex quickly. And this means that on the occasions when I do get into the, we're bantering, we're playing, we're holding off on getting to that. That is a rare but very exciting activity.
Yes, it is. Let's get into some sex questions now. I want to ask you a few about your work that came through from the Flirties. One here about what makes maybe a good shoot or a good video, right? I think we oftentimes see sex as good or bad. It's a success or a failure, right? Did we come or not? Did we orgasm or not? And so maybe demystifying the black and white, right, good or badness of sex a little bit, and just what makes a good experience in your mind.
I'm going to divide that into two things, which is what makes it good or bad and what is a failure. I don't, for the purposes of shooting porn in an OnlyFans, as opposed to studio porn, which is a very defined goal of these are the shots we want, this is the story we're telling.
Yep.
I think in like a self-made scene, there is no failure. There is just, I think with the caveat of as long as you did something real.
Yeah.
As long as you had a real experience, there is no failure. We weren't able to come. Somebody wasn't able to get hard and we did something else. Like we got together and found out we didn't vibe. Those are all real experiences and are all worth showing together. Like not every video that one makes has to be, I'm going to sit here and bait to this. Yeah.
Right.
Like,
okay.
There's a lot of, whether it's emotional or true or educational or whatever, stories that are not that and are still useful.
Yeah.
I've shot with this company, Himeros, a couple of times who are unusual in the studio porn world and that their focus is authentic connection. We have met up and we have found some obstacle to being able to connect properly. How do we navigate that obstacle to still have a vibrant and personal encounter? And one of them was like, neither of us can get hard. How are we gonna still have a engaged and connected sexual encounter if neither of us has a boner?
Yeah.
One of them was, I'm having a nice time with this person, but actually I think I need some solo time. How do I navigate separating from the sex that I'm having and moving back into a solo play time?
Okay.
Somebody else's scene was like, the bottom is not prepared for this in a way that's gonna head for the fucking. How do we navigate the potential awkwardness of that moment and then move into something else? Yeah. Okay. On the good or bad, I do think what makes a good scene is, you said the word before, connectivity, connection, the ability to have some kind of a relationship with a person that you're involved with.
Yeah.
To make a connection or sometimes to emphatically deny connection can also be interesting. But I think the interplay between two people.
That makes a lot of sense, because there's going to be flirties listening from all over the world that identify as straight, as queer, as gay, as non-binary, as trans, right? They may identify in many different ways. And so even though you've got two homosexuals on the show today, I think we're going to be speaking to some of these overall themes of sex and intimacy and connection that all of us are going to experience, and all of us can relate to. You speaking to one just then and there about, I think, expectation, right? A lot of us have expectations of how something should go or how we want it to go. Or if you've been, dating for, let's just say, a month, and you're having, right, your first sexual experience with someone, you can build up a lot of anticipation about that. Yeah.
But I think the real important thing to remember there is that, like, it's not about achieving an act.
Yeah.
It's not about completing a task. It's about being present with that person.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And let the flirt
all the
serve
flirting
you
leading
there.
up to this, it's all been about being real with this person.
Yes.
Just continue to be real with this person. That's the goal. Now it involves potentially orgasms, but it's still about being honest and present.
Absolutely. And we're going to stay here for a moment. I got a couple more questions here. One about the play between different sexual chemistries. So, if you are maybe filming a scene, or you have a partner where one person, right, you want to get like right into the sex. You're ready to go. It's sort of that race to orgasm, perhaps. Or maybe the person that you're connecting with is just like wanting to move super fast. Or so how might you just play with that difference in maybe chemistry?
On the moving super fast, I'm not going to speak to that experience directly, because I am somebody who always moves fairly quickly, and I also self-select partners who do that as well.
Oh, okay.
I will instead speak on differing chemistry to a scene partner that I work with in a studio context, who is either straight, or he's bi, heavily leaning towards straight.
Mm-hmm.
He's also like 15 years younger than me. He's in his early 20s.
Okay.
And we have few common interests, and we get into the studio environment. I'm like, I don't have a lot of chemistry. This is, I guess, a little unusual here, because I am going to have sex with a person I don't necessarily directly have chemistry with. But we're not experiencing a lot of natural chemistry. So I talk to him for a while, and I find out that he does a lot of pushback on authority figures. He kind of rankles against like structure and expectations.
Yeah.
And that gave me something to work with.
Yeah.
On camera is cool. Maybe the connection between you and me on the like, hey, I'm super into you personally, isn't that strong. What I can do to play with this is tap into that upstart firebrand power play thing that you seem to connect with.
Yeah.
Can I engage that part of you in a way that becomes about that? The sex becomes about that power struggle and the victories, the concessions, the losses in that.
Okay.
It was a way of establishing a rapport, and I guess sort of like a game to play with this person who I didn't necessarily have one originally.
Okay.
To broaden that out a little bit is, if me and my partner are coming from different places and we don't have an immediate, our natural flow of sexuality is not quite the same, there is still probably an overlap out there.
Yeah.
We're just going to have to look for it in a less obvious place.
Okay.
It may not be like romantic magnetic eye contact, which is the easiest way to do things, but there are other points of connection.
Yeah. So you tell him in this example a little bit of role play, maybe, where you got to be like, that's how you were building some of that sexual chemistry, some of that charge. You were the authority figure, and this person was going to be like, hold up, I don't like that. But in this situation, it makes it very, very interesting. Yeah. I like that. So really just looking kind of at the bigger picture, thinking outside the box, what dynamics maybe are inherent in a connection that you can play with, in fun and exciting ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's going to be really relatable for the flirties, whether you're in a relationship with someone, you're like really, you've been dating someone for perhaps a little while, getting some ideas to bring, yes, some new energy into the bedroom, or if maybe you're in kind of situationship world, right? Like you're having a good time, you're not really dating for, I don't know, you're enjoying yourself. Like this could be really, really fun for your dating and sex life as well.
It's also like beyond the person you're with in that moment. If you're more like multiple partner minded person like I am, it's a part of self-discovery too.
Yes.
Let me find a way to connect with this person that is maybe not where I go to immediately.
Yeah.
And by taking an alternate route to find that connection, I'm going to start developing a new pathway for myself.
Yes. Okay.
For future encounters.
Ooh. Okay, we're going to come back to that. I do want to ask you this question here. We've got to, as we're talking about sex, we got to talk about consent and boundaries. Maybe I should have started with that one. So just what does that mean to you? How can we come into a sexual experience with someone in a way that feels just really good and empowering, right? It feels safe, but also you feel confident to communicate what you like, what you don't like, right? Where your comfort level is. Yeah, I think that's really, really important just to build confidence.
I'm very much talker for two reasons. I like very much to be explicit about this is what I'm going to do. This is what I would like to do. May I do this?
Okay.
And I do that, one, because I'm not great at reading social signals all the time. It takes me a lot of study to process that. And so to help make communication really clear, I try and articulate where I am and what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
It means that I start getting that back from the person that I'm doing it with as well. I'm establishing that the way we're going to interact involves a lot of direct communication for clarity.
Okay.
I also do a lot of like consent check-in and stating of boundaries and stating intentions, because I'm somebody who moves fairly quickly. And if I'm with a partner who does not, I want to give them additional opportunities to apply breaks and adjustments. I'm very much an omnivore and get to a point of deep intimacy or physical intensity fairly easily and quickly. And I don't want to overwhelm somebody who does not go at that speed.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. But did you use the term omnivore?
Omnivore.
In a sexual context?
Yeah. I often describe myself as a sexual omnivore. I like a lot of everything. I'm very into trying new things. I'm very into exploring new dynamics. I am a powerverse. I am dominant. I am submissive. I am mean. I am tender. I am newly exploring bisexuality. I like trying kinks that I have not played around with yet.
Okay.
I'm very much an omnivore.
I appreciate that. Thank you for this. I've never heard omnivore applied to this context before, but I love it.
I will eat everything. You will once. If I don't like it, I don't have to try it again.
That's right. But how are you going to know unless you try?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I want to stay here just another moment with consent, because it really is, consent is sexy. How do you feel about status checks, right? About, last time you were tested? I think this goes for all daters, anyone that's having sexual experiences. When does that come into the consent conversation as well?
I think it comes in whenever you want it to.
Okay.
I think it's important. I think it's important in most environments on a personal level. I think the frequency of this check-in depends somewhat on what your sexual practices are.
Yeah.
Like, I'm someone who goes to sex parties with moderate frequency. And it's not practical in that environment to approach 30 people in the course of a night and go like, hey, were you last tested, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. Makes sense.
Though I also know people who have approached me as we're getting into sex and have gone like, hey, I made you be positive, I'm undetectable, or have been like, hey, I'm on PrEP, and like, I do appreciate that kind of a conversation about things when people want that. But walking backwards from that like far end of the spectrum, I think you bring up status discussions when you want to.
Okay.
Maybe you're approaching an oral sex situation where you don't feel that that's a question you need an answer to right now. Maybe it's a point of, hey, I'm going to kiss this person, and it's a thing that I want to be talking about right from the start of physical interaction.
Yeah.
you do it at your comfort level. I think you don't need to. I don't think you need to have a standard of what the other person's expectation.
That makes sense. And I'll share my perspective on the status consent. For me, it's I am a 1-to-1. And so that's just what feels good and comfortable for me when it comes to sex. And so I'm going to bring that up before, right, the clothes even come off, right? Maybe in a flirty way, like status check, that kind of thing, because it's about managing my own risk tolerance. And so I want to know just what my risk tolerance is. So if there is a risk involved, whatever that may be, whatever that looks like, I can take precautions and feel as confident and just as safe as I possibly can so that I can be more present and start to let my guard down. And then when it comes to consent, like for a long time, and I know many of the flirties can relate to this, it's you may compromise your boundaries, you may agree to do things that you really don't want to do, but in the moment, you want to live up to the expectations, or you want someone to like you, or you feel like it's the right thing to do. But I don't do that anymore. So if it's a first time thing, I know what I'm comfortable with is nothing insertive, nothing penetrative. But there's some other things on the table that we can play with. But then having that ongoing conversation of consent, right? Can I do this? Can I touch you here? Are you okay with that? And then when I receive those questions back, it's very sexy. It's very hot. Yeah. And so I encourage the flirties. Talk, right? You don't have to be, it doesn't have to be clinical. It doesn't have to be, something you get from ChatGPT. It can be, right? Do you like this? Do you like when I touch you there?
Expressing vulnerability by asking for a thing. And vulnerability is hot.
Oh my God.
Vulnerability is connective.
Oh, yes. I agree.
I want to speak one more thing on that. On that consent point, since you're a person who's coming from I want to have those discussions before the clothes come off. And I want to speak to the flirties who are listening who worry about setting their boundaries or about asking that question of what's your testing and health status? Hey, I want to do this, but I'm not sure about here, and I want to explore this with caution.
Yeah.
From the point of view of somebody who is very slutty and whose risk tolerance is fairly high, I want you to ask me those questions. Okay. I want you to tell me where your boundaries are. I want you to tell me where your concerns are. I want to answer your questions so that you feel comfortable and you feel safe. I do not want you to go at my speed when my speed is not your speed. I'm variable and I want to respect where you're at and I want to make you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
So please bring those things up. I am excited to adapt to where you're at.
Mm-hmm. You heard it here, flirties. Show your vulnerabilities. Yes, and express what you're looking for. Communicate. It's your partners want to know.
Yeah,
they want to know. How about I want to talk about sex as a process of self-exploration. We touched on that a little bit earlier. And so to kind of get into that as a topic, maybe starting to ask some questions now that the flirty submitted about different things to do in the bedroom. Yes. Okay. Or the back of a car or the kitchen counter or really anywhere. This one came through about verbal play. So this flirty says that they just started to date someone new. They have, they have progressed to clothes coming off. They started having sex and they're with someone who's very verbal and they have never been before. And they're like, what do I do? Right. I'm kind of into it, but I don't really know. It's new to me. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah. I think what I hear in this question is, do I be verbal back? Mm-hmm. Do I have to be verbal back? How do I be verbal back if I want to?
Yes.
I certainly encourage exploring being verbal in response. And I will say that being verbal during sex is a thing you have to practice and that you will be potentially bad at for a while.
Okay.
And even when you get good at it, sometimes you will say dumb things. Sometimes you will just take a swing and say something that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Or you think back on it and you're like, oh, that's actually kind of weird and hot. And that happens. Unfortunately, being verbal during sex is an improv show where instead of trying to be funny, we're trying to be sexy. And you gotta just take swings at it. You gotta get out there and try some stuff. And man, sometimes it's gonna be wrong, and you're gonna learn how to get good at it.
Yeah.
Your partners, particularly partners who are very verbal, are gonna work with you.
Okay.
Because we've all had to do this.
Okay. Lean on the partner that has more experience, right? Like, Okay.
And I guess having established be kind to yourself during this process, ways that you can get engaged on being verbal, if your partner's already being verbal, is pick something that they've said, respond to it, and add to it.
Ooh. Okay.
Say it back with an addition of something that you like.
Okay. How about an example?
Ooh.
This episode is already rated explicit. You can say whatever you want.
I'm not in the middle of something right now, so I'm sitting at the dashboard knowing the 100 directions I could go.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess maybe because sexual terms and body parts are they're kind of ridiculous sounding. Whether you're using the clinical term, like penis and vagina, or right, you're using, dick or bussy, or do we say bussy anymore?
People do. I've never personally said it, other than in jest. It's never been part of my sexual language. But
and we should
surely
we should clarify for the flirties what a bussy is. It's a butthole, right? Yeah. Okay, I got that right.
I think so. I am unsure if there are trans men who refer to their other hole that way.
Oof.
That would be a question for them.
I don't know, Jonah. I'm not sure.
I'll have to
do some research.
Yeah, I have put pussy in the broad category of the penetrative lower body holes of men.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
I'm not sure where the divide is and how it's used for particular holes.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. I'm going to stick to, I'm not going to say the anatomical term, penis for me. I'm going to use some colloquial, maybe a little bit of slang language, just because it's that's just hotter to me. And so I think what words, if you were to listen to fan fiction or autoerotica, what really turns you on, and then just bring that into your experiences, right? It's not necessarily, lean on your partner, but you can also, it's just going to be a practice of exploration, using some terms and some language and some words that feel good. It may be silly at first, but so are most things that we try that are new.
I love the way you talk about the silliness of sexual terminology.
It's ridiculous.
A thing that I know people who do this, and I work it in a little bit of my own material and my own personal play, is the use of the word penis in sexual conversation, because it's so it's a goofy word and it's clinical and awkward.
Yeah.
Using that really ramps up the absurdity of sex.
Yes.
In a way that actually can be very fun.
Yes. Yeah. Bring some levity to it, some lightheartedness, right? It doesn't, I think we try and make it serious a lot of times, especially if we're racing towards the orgasm, or we just want to please our partner, or if that's what you're really focused on. But in between, there's so much you can do. There's so much to explore. There's so much room to play. And so I hope that's one of the takeaways that the flirties get today, is just how to bring some more play and maybe silliness into their sex lives.
Yeah. That's such a key part of sexuality, and
it
just
really
being
is.
with other people is having fun with it.
Yes.
And I think that necessitates being inelegant sometimes and allowing yourself to be that.
I mean, important. Your bodies might do some funky things. They may not always cooperate, but it's okay. It's okay. Yeah. What do you think about, I got a question here about dom sub play. Yeah, I know. It's a big topic.
Huge question.
I know. So just thinking about the flirties listening of all genders, right? How can they, maybe explore that kink a little bit, if you'd call it a kink?
Yeah. I'm going to start from the point that I often hear people say that the person in charge in the dom sub dynamic is the sub.
I have heard that as well. Yes.
Yeah, because that person is really defining the like, this is where the limits are.
Yeah.
I do a lot of role play, and I love making those scenes. Particularly, I love making those on camera with a mind towards the person out of power. How does this exist in a way that supports, encourages, like makes the person in the powerless side of the situation or the less powerful side of the situation? How do we do this that makes them feel safe?
Okay.
It's also about like quotation marks threatening that person. It's about pushing them. It's about challenging them. It's about testing them. They need to feel like they're in good hands. They're in safe hands.
They want to feel safe. Yeah.
While they're going through something difficult.
Yeah. That's okay. That makes sense, because I think, what's coming to mind when we sort of, think of typical dom sub roles, maybe top versus bottom, masculine versus feminine, but you're, I think, offering a little bit of a different context, going back to the theme of connection. How can you play with maybe authority? How can you play with that dynamic of assertiveness, but passivity, but also the sub is still very much in control, and it's about creating this safety so that both of you can let go and just fully be with the experience. Yeah. That's so interesting. What, like the power dynamics that play out in sex? I'm really curious to get your perspective on that, because that's one thing that's always been very interesting to me, but I don't fully understand. It's kind of this battle, this push pull for control, and it's very interesting. I want to hear what you think.
I'm versatile both in position and in my power play, and I really want to encourage people to be versatile in their subness.
Okay,
I think it is a great way of exploring I think sex is a great place to explore this in how you might approach it in other parts of your life. Sex is a great place to explore your decisiveness, your willingness to take command, your ability to explore your confidence, how your power works. Okay. I think it's also a great place to explore giving up control, letting someone else, trusting someone else with your pleasure. And I think as you become comfortable with one of these things, it is a great place for trying the other side from the thing. I think it is a gift to be able to go, no, actually, I'm going to be in charge today. We're going to work with you. We're going to work with you as the finger at the time. We're going to give you instructions. We're going to put you in a position, and we're going to use your body to achieve our pleasure. It's a flipping of the script in a way that person doesn't normally get to experience.
I made some new connections just then as well in my own awareness, and got some ideas of maybe what to try. And the next time I have sex, that could be really, really, really exciting. And I suppose we should break down, tell people what a top and a bottom is in the gay world. A top is the person that is inserting probably their penis, their penis in the bottom. And so this plays out in sex of all kinds, right? If you're performing, or if you're having insertive sex, it's there's a giver and a receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. So
you can still have those giver and receiver positions with, non-penis based sex.
Oh, 100%.
Like you can certainly have somebody who is the top in a finger. You can have somebody who's the top in a
toys,
in a rimming or an eating out scenario. Somebody is still the inserted partner.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. Good distinction. As I'm just thinking now, it's really like what you were sharing. It's coming back to these themes of vulnerability and connection and consent and communication, and really kind of creating this charged sexual chemistry that ultimately is about a release, or it certainly can be, that is about deepening a connection. It's about intimacy. And so I think if we can play with yes, with creating these experiences in so many different ways. Like, yeah, I hope the flirties are getting some new ideas, some new, yes, tools.
Can I share another insight from the dominance side?
Yes, please.
A thing that I have learned over my like on camera time is
Mm-hmm.
in the dominant position, sometimes what the submissive person wants from you
Mm-hmm.
is to take pleasure on your own terms.
Mm.
Like there is very much a like beautiful and balanced concept of a dom sub thing, and it's about creating mutual pleasure for both the people involved and always
Mm-hmm.
being in tune and aware of what the other person's needs are and how they're balanced.
Yeah.
Sometimes what a submissive wants is for you to fuck them and not think about what they need.
Mm.
You need to figure out if that's what they want, and you can usually figure that out through talking about it.
Yeah.
But and I will like to take this in small chunks of like 30 seconds to a minute of I'm kind of ignoring your needs right now as I fuck you, and just think about how good you feel for me and talk about how good you feel for me. For a sub or a bottom who enjoys objectification, that can be that selfishness, that intentional selfishness can be a reward for that person. It's counter to what I want to say about sexuality. That it should always be listening and in balance and like taking care of other people's needs.
But I get that. I can, sometimes you don't want to, you just let the other person take control and give you, like, without having to verbally say what it is you need, what it is you're looking for. Let the other person, like, that could be part of the experience for you. Part of the release is let the other person, let the dom figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay, very interesting. Lots to think about. I want to ask you this question now that came through a couple times from a lady flirty who is dating a man, and they have been, exploring some things. They've been having sex, and recently started exploring. Right, so wonderful for them. Exploring some ass play. The man is liking a finger. There's some things happening in that area. So they have some questions like, where do I start? Is there prep involved? Right. My partner is a little bit maybe anxious about enjoying this because they identify as straight. Right. There's a lot of things happening. So in this male-female dynamic, starting to explore some ass play.
Yeah. Starting on the male partner feeling anxious about this because of I'm straight, and this is classically a not straight thing.
Yeah.
It's not a not straight thing though. You have a body part and it feels good to play with it.
Yeah.
The action is not related to sexuality.
Thank you. Yeah.
Stop. I can't tell you just stop worrying about that because it doesn't just go away by deciding not to do it. But
right.
You're into the people that you're into and you like the activities you like. As for prep involved, I am a constant prep person because I'm doing my sex on camera. So I have a very thorough and perfected prep process. That is, the story that tells in porn is not a practical, real one for people in we're having sex for our own selves without anybody watching situation. Some activities you may want to do prep for, which involves like flushing out the rectum of what's in there.
Yeah.
But for a lot of activities, you also don't need to do that. And some small amount of messiness involved is fine.
Yeah. Okay.
This is, figure out what works for you, for your comfort level, but be generous with yourself and your partners.
Yeah.
About, hey, there's stuff in there, and sometimes we're going to become aware of that, and that's fine. We have soap. It's okay.
Yeah.
But what I will say for a casual level of prep is if you do want to, wash and clean yourself beforehand with just soap and water, and get a finger a knuckle or so up in there. So you want to do a gentle first knuckle or so's worth of clean in the shower before you get in there. You don't need to flush everything out of your body.
Yeah.
But that is a good level of where to start for oral play with your body, which is excellent. It's much easier than taking a finger. The tongue is soft. The tongue is like mobile and flexible. It's a lot more nuanced in motion than your fingers are. It also, provides its own lubrication in the way the fingers don't.
Correct.
A tip for working with your thoughts, whether it's tongue or fingers or toys or dicks or whatever, is that as you want to just sort of like rub up against the hole and figure out how it responds to touch. Because like between like pleasure and invasion and vulnerability, like that body part is going to relax and tighten sometimes very suddenly.
Yeah.
And you want to start getting a sense of how it responds to what.
Yeah.
And the things that allow it to open up, like a couple of light and gently inserted taps, just like a little rub over it. And that allows you to push a little further. And when that person tightens up a lot, retreat a little. This is a coaxing process.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes, some really, really good tips. Start right with a surface level bath, some soap and water up to the knuckle a little bit. The tongue may be more, flexible than the finger. Very, very interesting. I love what you said, how it's not like, I think we need to get over this, that things are automatically straight or gay, right? You have this body part. I love what you said. If it feels good, it feels good. And that's all there is to it. Yeah.
We're in a beautiful era of straight men being able to get pegged also. Like this is just moving into the cultural awareness with more and more situations where it's not the butt of a joke also.
Oh my God, yes. Ugh, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually, no, that just is fun and feels good.
Exactly.
Which is also my starter point into bisexuality.
Okay. Peg you. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, which is fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it's
never done it.
Going back to the dominance and submission, I like letting women explore, giving women a place to explore both dominance, being the penetrative partner, while also still giving the guiding hand of I am experienced in this act and I can like friendly dom from the bottom talk us through this as you start finding your footing in this.
Yeah.
I would like to help introduce you to this power role and then let you take over.
Okay. That's interesting. I'm going to ask you one more question here about cruising. Because you had tagged me in a video a while ago about cruising at the bathhouse. And so I want to just expand this a little bit more generally and ask you this question here that came through. A flirty says, I'm a single bi trans guy and have a hard time meeting and connecting with people on the apps, but I'm looking to make some connections, go on some dates, explore my sexuality, have some new experiences. So how can they do that? What are maybe a couple tips?
Ask me that again. We framed this as a cruising question, but I didn't hear the cruising in it.
No, I didn't really. I redirected it, quite honestly, to get to this question. This person says they're a single bi trans guy. And so I want to offer the flirties that are exploring their identity, exploring their sexuality. Maybe they just went through a transition or they're starting treatment or hormones of some kind. Yeah. And so a lot is happening as their bodies are changing. Right? How they can still take in everything that we've offered today, but meet people that they can, have some interactions with.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm reluctant to answer this question more than just sort of surface level because I am not a person who has transitioned. I cannot speak for other people's, I cannot speak for what that experience is like. I cannot speak for the navigation of that. And that's really like trans people's question to answer.
Okay.
But again, coming back to upfrontness and vulnerability, being direct about, hey, I am new in these aspects of my experience is a great way to approach stuff. Either I am new to identifying in this way, or I am new to these features of my body, or I am new to exploring the the gender dynamic from this side, if perhaps like the bi-ness is new about that, or like that you're exploring, like now you're exploring men in a way as a man that you were not exploring it that way before.
Yeah.
Like, I think being upfront about that is great and fun and like accessible and hot.
Yes. Yes.
I will extrapolate to like, I was in a sex party environment that both had a large gay male sex party contingent and a large mixed gender bi to straight leaning multi-gender queer environment. And this is very early in my exploration. And I stepped out of the room, sort of self-segregated into like non-conversational, kind of aggressive gay men's sex space, and the more caressy pile that the mixed gender space was. And I went over to the mixed gender space and was like, hey, I have zero experience with women, but I'm kind of curious. I don't know what my pace is. I'm curious about these things. Can I be here and try some stuff? People were like, yeah, cool.
Absolutely. Okay.
And people made offers. Would you like to do this? Would you like to interact in this way? Can I show you this thing that I enjoy and you might also? But also other people opened up back of like, hey, I would like to make out with you because I'm demisexual and I really don't often want to go further than like body contact and kissing, but that actually feels like maybe where you're at right now. Coming back to the original question, the upfrontness of these features are new and I am exploring, it opens up possibilities of people who are interested in exploring that with you.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think those are really good tips, coming back to some of what we've been talking about throughout the conversation of authenticity. And so as you're maybe exploring a new identity for yourself, how do you like to express yourself? How do you like to dress? So you get to, I think, play with how you express yourself and then find those spaces where you can start, right, finding some like-minded people. You can find some people that are going to be open to, having some experiences with you, whether it's dates, whether it's making out, whether it's having sex. Yeah, I think it's those spaces and places exist. Yeah. And so finding them. Jonah, this has been really, really fun to have you on Flirtations today. Thank you so much for being on the show and answering so many questions about sex and kinks and intimacy. Are there any final thoughts for the Flirties?
Ooh, I don't know. Have a good time. Speak your needs.
Yeah.
Okay. Nothing is better than being honestly communicative about it.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. I'm going to have all of your sites and socials linked in the show notes below. But where you live on the internet, how can the Flirties find you and finally follow you?
I am on a great many social media platforms, and I am Show Off Jonah on all of them.
We love a branded King Jonah, Show Off Jonah on all platforms. I will send the Flirties your way. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me. It's been a delight.
Okay, that's a wrap on this episode of Flirtations. Thank you to Jonah Wheeler for being on the show today and sharing some great advice and tips and tricks to, I think, express ourselves in those intimate, sexy moments, to play with boundaries. Consent, of course, always got to include that in these conversations, but also maybe how to make things a little bit more spicy, try some new things, be adventurous, and just explore that physical connection, right? With your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your partner, your partners, whoever you're out there flirting and dating with. Yes, I hope you enjoyed this episode so much. Thank you, Jonah. And thank you to you, the Flirties, for listening, for tuning in, for streaming. Wherever you may be in the world, I could not do any of this without you. Please rate, review, subscribe to the show. Share it with someone you even mildly like, someone you want to share some BFE, big flirt energy with. I love you for it and greatly appreciate you. Yes, for being here. Okay, officially signing off here at Flirt Headquarters. My name is Benjamin. I'm the flirt coach and gay Libra Flirty. Happy flirting.